We need accountability for the kids that are repeatedly violating the law. I believe in rehabilitation, but I will not tolerate lawlessness.
Governor Wes Moore unveils his public safety priorities ahead of the legislative session, which starts tomorrow.
And during a news conference today, the governor outlined 3 bills he's planning to introduce: the Victim Compensation Reform Act to ensure victims have services they need to move forward;
the Growing Apprenticeship in Public Safety, or GAPS Act, which aims to help with law enforcement recruiting.
And following the Biden administration, Governor Moore calling for the creation of a Center for Firearm Violence Prevention and Intervention to track and remove illegal guns. Our team of reporters looking into the governor's plan and the questions some have about his continued support of the Department of Juvenile Services.
We begin with Mackenzie Frost and the lack of specifics in the governor's message.
The governor talked a lot about accountability, but what it comes down to is the governor is seemingly putting a lot of the heavy lifting on lawmakers to make his broad plans reality.
Mic check, 1, 2.
Governor Wes Moore
Good morning.
outlining his public safety priorities ahead of the next session, with a slew of speakers standing with him, including Department of Juvenile Services Secretary Vincent Schiraldi.
I take DJS's role in promoting safety and positive youth outcomes very seriously. No one should feel unsafe walking in their own neighborhood. Hard stop.
And while the governor touts his support of plans put forward by state's attorneys like Ivan Bates and Aisha Braveboy, who were in the first row, Governor Moore not introducing their policy proposals. Instead, he's simply supporting some of them.
We need to think seriously about lengthening probation for juveniles guilty of gun crimes.
Extending the length of probation for young offenders is a key element to the Bates Braveboy legislative priority package, and another priority is changing the Juvenile Interrogation Act, calling to require defense attorneys to be present in person during questioning instead of just on the phone. We pressed the governor on that policy push.
Do you support that as well?
I think all options need to be on the table. And I think as we're going into this next legislative session, we are going to work with our state's attorneys. We're going to work with our legislative partners.
From your administration, though, would you push to support making changes to that act?
I think all options need to be on the table.
Not committing to supporting a change in the Interrogation Act. While there's a lot of talk from Governor Wes Moore about accountability,
The hallmark of what I hope to see in any juvenile justice legislation that's going to make it to my desk can be summarized in one word: accountability.
he did not offer many details on what that means moving forward.
It's always great to hear the word accountability from a Democrat. He didn't embrace legislative ideas that would actually bring that sort of accountability.
Republican Senators Justin Reedy and Stephen Hershey quick to offer reaction.
We want to hear what's going to be done to immediately make streets safer.
But there's still a lot of fluff.
The GOP pair say they are disappointed the governor's plan did not include specific legislation targeting juvenile crime. And while they both say they support services for young offenders,
We can't do that if DJS is not going out and doing its job.
meanwhile, DJS Secretary Schiraldi continues to get the support from his boss.
If there's anyone who is up to the job, it's our Secretary of Juvenile Services, Vinny Schiraldi.
The questions are, how will the state pay for these proposals, and will the governor put pressure on lawmakers to turn his broad ideas into reality?
Governor Moore says he plans to use every tool available to him to ensure public safety. And while he says that now, again, we have yet to see the specifics. In the State House, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
While the governor doubled down on his support for Secretary Schiraldi, citizens, police, and prosecutors have expressed frustration with the Maryland Department of Juvenile Services. Secretary Schiraldi believes people should be kept out of the adult prison system until they turn 25 because scientists have found their brains aren't fully developed until that age. Crystal Gonzalez, the mother of one of the young victims from the Brooklyn Day mass shooting, disagrees with that opinion.
I believe we've all seen the evidence of what his practices are. It's not working. They know right from wrong. So I can hear you tell me that no one, well, a child under the age of 25 shouldn't be in an adult system. Well, here we know we have a lot of adult things that we do between the ages of our teen years and 25. So you're able to start families and get married, right? You're able to do these things. Why are people not asking these questions? But when you have a violent offender commit a violent act, all of a sudden he don't know better.
Gonzalez went on to say that she wants a complete overhaul of the state's juvenile justice laws as lawmakers return to Annapolis.
And that brings us to our question of the day. If lawmakers don't change the juvenile crime laws, should they be recalled? So far, 98% of those who voted say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. Well, a key component of the governor's crime strategy is the creation of a center which will address firearm violence and intervention. And already there are questions about its effectiveness. Fox 45's Jeff Abel taking a closer look at the plans and why they are raising concerns.
When it comes to fighting crime, the governor's newest strategy is sounding all too familiar.
It looks like the governor is doubling down on what has failed in the city of Baltimore.
Good morning. We will introduce a bill to create a new Center for Firearm Violence Prevention and Intervention.
A cornerstone of the governor's strategy is the creation of a Center for Firearm Violence Prevention and Intervention. The center would be run by the health department and would oversee funding for community organizations who are fighting in the war on crime.
Those who are closest to the problem are the ones who are closest to the solutions. They're just hardly ever at the table, right? So we have to change our posture when it comes to working with community organizations.
Maryland is the first state to act on the recommendation to create a statewide Office of Gun Violence Prevention.
Or could it be a new title for an old strategy? 5 years ago, the state created a first-ever violence intervention and prevention program. The program, which currently exists, pumps $10 million tax dollars a year on programs which support effective violence reduction strategies. A Hopkins review of the program 2 years ago found it contributed $2.5 million to hire staffers for Baltimore's Safe Streets program. The same program whose Bel Air Road office was raided by the FBI last year and is the target of a federal probe.
And we see just the very recent past that the nonprofits in Baltimore City are not helping the crime situation. And in fact, there are more questions than answers when it comes to these nonprofits receiving money.
In an email, we asked the governor's office today how this new violence intervention program would differ from the existing program. Will the new center replace the current program? Will it be directing funds to nonprofit organizations? Will additional money be allocated for the new center? We're still waiting for a reply. Meanwhile, taxpayer advocate David Williams is shaking his head.
And this could be a massive waste of taxpayer money if he sends this money to the nonprofits.
Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
We've also heard from top prosecutors across the state for months. They say the state's juvenile crime laws are leaving their hands tied and action can't wait.
We can only hope that they'll not listen to just folks like me or my 23 colleagues across the state who are the chief prosecutors in their counties, but hopefully they'll listen to their citizens, because their citizens are saying the exact same thing. Enough's enough.
Some of our laws that have been passed recently do make it a little more challenging for us to hold them accountable.
Join Fox 45 News for a Your Voice, Your Future State's Attorney Roundtable tomorrow. Top prosecutors Ivan Bates, Aisha Braveboy, Scott Schellenberger, and Rich Gibson will join us to discuss their legislative priorities for the 2024 session. That roundtable starts tomorrow at 7 p.m., and you can watch it live on foxbaltimore.com.
I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you for watching. Here's another video for you to watch. Also take some time to subscribe to our YouTube channel.